Welcome to my next video. In this video, we're going to be talking about wills. What is a will? Do I need a will? What overrides a will? What happens if I don't have a will? But first, what I say in this video is based upon my education, my life experiences, and my values. What I say in this video is for most people in typical situations. It is not for all people in all situations. If it was, this video would be hours or even days long. My goal and hope is that by the end of this video, you will know more about wills and will be able to make better decisions for your life. Many of us put off making a will. When we're young, we're going to live forever, and making a will is irrelevant. When we're older, we just don't want to talk about it. But one thing is absolutely true. Regardless of how old we are, regardless of what we think about wills, and that one thing is, we all die one day. So what is a will? A will is a legal document that says who gets your property when you die. Does a will determine who gets all of your property? No. A couple of things can override any wills that you have. One thing that can override any will that you have is how you legally own or how you legally have titled property. Let me give you an example. Let's say you open up a bank account with another person, and the person at the bank says, how would you like to legally title this bank account? And for whatever reason, you choose joint tenancy with right of survivorship. You just kind of like the way it sounds. What have you done? Well, by choosing that option, when you die, everything in that bank account automatically goes to the remaining owner. You have a will, you don't have a will, it doesn't matter. The way you legally titled that property overrides any will you have today and any will you make in the future. What's another thing that can override a will? Beneficiary designations. You have a pension plan at work and they say, who would you like to name as the beneficiary? You have a life insurance policy. Who's going to be the beneficiary? Individual retirement account. Who are you going to choose as a beneficiary? When you select a beneficiary for those types of things, you're overriding anything that you have in a will now and anything that you put in any future will. So the way you legally title property and any beneficiary designations override whatever you put in any will. So that means when you're writing a will, you want to take a look at how you legally own property, and you want to take a look at what your beneficiary designations are, because they always will override a will. Another thing you can do in a will is name a guardian. A guardian is a person who is going to raise your minor children if something happens to you. In most situations, if you name a reasonable legal guardian in your will, that person will end up raising your children. That's an important thing to consider. So, do we all need a will? A will's nice to have, but do we need a will? Who needs a will? Well, if you're single, you have no children, you have no assets, do you need a will? Not really. It's nice to have a will. It's always nice to have a will, but you don't need a will. Now let's change the facts. Let's say you're married, you have minor children, you're raising minor children from several different relationships, you have a lot of wealth. The wealth may be scattered throughout the United States or maybe even located in different countries. Do you need a will? Yes, you need a will. Okay, it's always nice to have a will. Some people need a will. What happens if you don't have a will? About half of us die without a will. What happens then? Each state has different rules that determines what happens if you die in that state and you do not have a will. Again, the way you've legally titled property, your beneficiary designations, those override each state's rules as to what happens if you die in that state without a will. Most states leave your property to some combination of your spouse and your children. Speaking of your children, who's going to be the guardian of your children if you don't say it in a will? Who decides that? Well, that gets decided in a court hearing. Do you really want a court to decide who's going to raise your children? If you don't, consider naming a guardian. If you die without a will, you are pretty much guaranteeing your loved ones a hassle. They may have to prove to a court in your state that you had no will. Proving that something does not exist is pretty tricky from a logical point of view. You basically have to say, we looked everywhere we could think to look, we talked to everybody we could think to talk to, we can't find a will, we don't think there's a will, and then the court takes it from there. Finally, I think that one of the goals in making a will should be to try to maximize the harmony of your loved ones after you're gone. You want to do whatever you want to do in a will, but try to do it in a way that will maximize the harmony of your loved ones once you're gone. In this video, we learned about wills. What is a will? What overrides a will? Things like the way you legally title property or beneficiary designations. What happens if you have no will? And why a will is always a good idea. I have another video on the topic of wills. It's on how to make a will. You may want to look at that other video after you finish with this video. Until the next video, always remember that you are the best person in the world to decide what is important for you. Thank you for watching. Please click the button to subscribe. I hope that you got something from this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and comment. Please check out my channel, playlists, and other videos. Have a great day.